Good afternoon and welcome to a little bit of a look at the basics of using spreadsheets. We're going to be looking at real basics. We're not going to be going and building massive formulas that are mile long or doing simulated equations or all the very crazy things you can do on Excel and Google Docs. What we're going to be looking at though, just getting started, learning to do a few basic things so you can then explore the world of spreadsheets to help you out with your small business. I'm Dante St James. I'm currently house sitting. It's a very pretty background I've got here, and actually is a real one. Usually we have to go and get fake photographs to get this kind of background, but hey, I'm pretty impressed by this little zebra here. Let's get it underway. And if you've got any questions along the way, please feel free to share those in the chat window or the Q&A, and I'll answer those as I can. I should be able to see them as they're coming up. If you've got any issues with what's going on, please just drop it in there or send a private message through to me even. You can do that on there. You should be able to do that. Let's get that screen shared and let's get underway. First of all, what we're going to look at today is kind of limited, but it's going to be a little bit of an intro to Excel. So that's the one that most people seem to think they know the most about when it comes to spreadsheets. It's certainly been the one that's been around the longest. Then we're going to take a look at Google Sheets as well. This is a bit more of a modern approach to it and an online version. I'll be looking at the online web-based versions of both Excel and Google Sheets for no other reason except they're far more simplified. So we don't have to go into a lot of the depth and the changing of all the controls that are at the top ribbon and all that. We're going to look at the basics. So we're going to look at building a budget, which is very important for any small business. I've got mine certainly laid out. I'll tell you what, December is not looking too great. Building a pricing matrix, which is very important for if you've got things that you have a lot of costs associated with and you're wanting to know how to price them. We can put a little bit of a matrix in there that allows you to add a margin so you can calculate what you should be charging for those products and services of yours. We're also going to look at what a workflow would look like in Excel or in Google Sheets. And finally, how to plan your social media posts. In fact, that's the one thing I probably do mostly in Google Docs or Google Sheets more than anything else is put my social media and my posting plan in place so I can keep up with what I'm doing and maintain the right cadence, maintain the right mix of different things I'm trying to post, and to make sure that I've not sort of going too far into one subject without talking about the other one subject that I talk about. More of that to come. Let's continue. It's brought to you by Business Station and the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program, covering Western Australia, Northern Territory and Queensland right now. And we've got some more details on the end, how you can participate if you're not already. Bit about me, I work in a lot of stuff, collect a lot of badges, but basically one of the advisors for Business Station for the Digital Solutions Program and an entrepreneurship facilitator for the Workforce Australia Self-Employment Services in the Darwin region of the Northern Territory. A Meta certified lead trainer. There's only 5 of us in Australia, so I'm feeling like I'm pretty special with that one. And then I work with the Australian government's Be Connected program, helping disadvantaged people to get online. And Digital Springboard is where we're taking some of the learnings of how to use spreadsheets today and apply them to small businesses, sole traders, and people who may have never looked at a spreadsheet before. So the first thing we're going to do is look at Excel and Google Sheets, and we'll start building a budget a little bit later on with that. So let me just turn that into another one, not that one, this one here. This is what a Google Sheet looks like. Doesn't look very inspiring, does it? There's not really much going on there, but that's the beauty of a spreadsheet. It's like a big blank canvas that you can do all sorts of things, present different kinds of information, and most importantly, calculate things. Just like and it's one of those things where you can go say, I want to know what my total income is for the week. And as I enter more pieces of income, the total will update as you're going along. And then Excel online looks a little like this. So it's not particularly different, just slightly different layout of how things work. Still very much these rows and columns. And when we say rows and columns, rows are the things that go across. Columns are the things that go down. You see that highlighted there. Much the same in Google Sheets as well, where the rows go across and the columns go down. Now, by these numbers, when they get to Z, they become AA, AB, AC, etc. So there's no real limits of how far they can go. They can go really, really long down the track, or they can, you're probably really only going to use these first 3. Now you can, if you say we're going to put a bit of information and we go, this old man, he played 1. Notice how it's going over the limit that we've got there. Now it'll display like that, but it's still only filling this A one. So what we might want to do is make sure that we've got enough room in, say, one of these to drag across and make room for a longer sentence in that A. So each one of these can spread open and make them a little bit further apart. Similar thing with here. This old man, he played one. I don't know why that rhyme came into my head at this stage, but the same thing with our Google Sheets. We hover over the line between A and B, a little arrow appears, and then we expand it out to where we want to expand it to. And see, it does that. Now, if I kept going like that, what will happen is that I'll eventually fill up that space. See how it keeps going over and over and over? I don't really want it to do that. This is as wide as I want this to be at that A. So if I just scroll in a little bit so you can see what's going on there, I want to be able to make that wrap around. So in Google Sheets, what I would go is Format, then Wrapping, and then Wrap. See how it fits much more easily in there? So it doesn't mean you have to go completely all ridiculously long. You can just wrap it around. If I wanted that to occur on every single thing in that column, so all the way down, I could do that just simply by highlighting the A and then going Format, then Wrapping, then Wrap. And then every single one of these will now do the same. Let's try it in A5. Let's say tie me kangaroo down, sport, tie me kangaroo down. Spelling is terrible, probably. Keep me cock to cool curl. And notice how it's going over there. Once I go outside of that, so click somewhere else, look, it wraps. So it's done exactly what I need it to do. So let's take a look at what that now looks like over in Microsoft Excel. So we're going to repeat it again. It's already gone over. And we want it to wrap. So what we're going to do is skip straight to the A. And we're going to look for where this actually is in here. So we're looking for this. Wrap text is actually one of the options that sits in the ribbon up the top here. So most of those most commonly used things in Excel are actually in this dynamic ribbon that updates with the things you use the most. So wrapping text, there we go. And now what we'll find is for each of them, we're going to find the same thing. So let me go grab some lorem ipsum text, because it's always useful, that strange writing you see on websites that haven't quite been built yet. It's a bit of Latin that's really useful for using to fill spots in. So I'm just going to copy that, go back into my spreadsheet and copy it in. Let's go down to 5 and see how it's automatically now wrapping around. So everything in A will now wrap around, but nothing in B, C, or any of the others will, because we've just set it just for A to wrap around. We can then do that further along. Let's say we had to put a phone number in, 0428814666, which is my phone number. Sorry, shouldn't have given that out line. I'm going to regret that later on, aren't I? Any of those strange texts in the middle of the night, I'll know whose list to go for to see who's been calling me. So notice how that didn't wrap and it took out the 0. So what this is doing is saying, well, 0, numbers don't start with 0. And you go, well, this particular number does. So what I really want to do is have all the numbers in here. Let's just say I put that into number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. I'm going to show you a trick with that very shortly too. I want it to have the 0 in it, but what I need is to highlight that column B, and I'm going to change the number into something else. So it says here under, not data, I'm looking for, where is it? Not where I'm thinking of it. I don't use this one as much as I use Google Sheets. I use that far, far more. I can right click, there we go. And I'm looking for the number format. So the number format I want to change. So it actually is as it's displayed. So what I'm looking for is not actually a number, it's actually text. I want the 0 to come on the start of it. So if I change that over, and if I was to put the 0 in there now, it won't disappear when I go outside of it. See how it now keeps the 0? Now I want to change the rest of those. So to change the rest of them, I don't want to have to go in and type 0 in front of all of them. What I'm going to do, as I click on here, notice, now see if I can make that a bit bigger. Notice how this little square appears down the bottom here. If I drag that down now, look at that. It actually updated with 0s on all those, but unfortunately, it's gone in a sequence. I don't want it to go in a sequence. I just want it to go from 666. So if I now go 1, 2, now I've got a pattern of them being the same. I'm going to drag it down. And now it should all update. So it's based on a pattern. So when I put in 666 at the end, it thinks I might be, 777, 667 must be next, and then 668. But if I create a pattern that shows that I want that same two numbers, the first two numbers are the same, and then I drag them down, it will then copy that same format all the way down. So that's one of those shortcuts which allows you to not have to type in the same thing over and over and over again. Now, the other way I could have done it, of course, is by just simply copying and pasting. So copy and paste into all these. Paste. And it copies it straight into those fields like I'd want to. But if I wanted to do it through a whole different list, that little square thing and pulling it down, that is a much faster way of dealing with it. Back over on the Google Sheets, we do exactly the same thing. Let's go and narrow into this a bit. So I'm going to go view, because I can't just do the pinch zoom in this one. I have to do the view. So view, oops, 100. Let's take it up to about 200% so we can see it. So again, my number 0428814666. See, it takes that 0 off. So I need to change that number format, but I want that number format to be the same for everything in B. So just like in Excel, click to go on the B, and then I'm going to go to format, number, plain text. Then I add my 0 back on it, and it'll stay there. There we go. It's all staying there now. Now, just like with Excel, I've got the little square thing down the bottom. If I drag it down, notice how it's going to then go up the number. So of course I don't want it to do that. What I want it to do is take this number and show how I've got the same number 2 in a row, highlight both. And then as I drag down, look, it's going to keep them all at that same one. So that's one of the tricks of pulling down and repeating data. Another way to repeat data, let's just say this is a date field over here. So I'm going to put the 27th of the 12th, 2022. So it's going to say, okay, that's a date. Now, if I was to drag that down, what do you reckon it would do? It would probably then go to the next available date, wouldn't it? So let's have a look at what it does. Bring down. And yep, it's actually taken it up to the next year, which is definitely not what we want to do. What we want to do is make it go up in date by days. So what we'll do instead is I need to format this number as a date. So at the moment, the format, so I go right click and look for the number format. Sorry, wrong one over here, format. And the number this time is going to be a date. So I'm looking down here, date. So that's in American format. It's 9/26/2008. So we've now formatted that as a date. It now knows that this is a date. So if I just go one up, it will still do the date. So what I might want to do is then go, well, 28th of the 12th, 2022 is the next day. Let's see what it does when I do this pattern. Aha. 27, 28, 27, 23. So it's not quite doing what we want it to do. So what's the problem there? Well, the problem is that there's no clear way to make it just go forward in time like that, unless I've put in an actual date format, like the correct date format that it wants. So I'm going to go with my numbers again, and I'm going to go, let's just say the date, custom date and time. And we're going to go it's giving me the chance here to go month, day, year. I don't want month, day, year. I want day, month, year. So I'm going to change that around. So day, delete, delete, delete. I'm going to want to go the other way around, 8/5/30. I want 5/8. So 5th of August, 1930. I want to apply that format. So what I'm going to do is write it in that format from now. So I'm going to write the 27th of December, 2022. So it's going to put in that format. See how it's automatically formatted it to what I told it to format? So if I then go forward in time, it's now going to go in the correct way. 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. So now it's finally going in the direction I want it to go for. So let's just repeat that again. I'm going to go back in time where I just had that particular format. Now that is not the correct format as defined in this spreadsheet. So the correct format defined in the spreadsheet would be whatever I set it for. So in my number, going down to the date, and then I choose the date format I want. So it's in a date format, but I want to determine what it's going to be. So I'll go back into this custom date and time. And that custom date and time, I set what layout I want it to be. So I could even go August 5th, 1930. I could go, where is it? 5th of August, 1930. That's kind of the one I wanted. So I apply that. It's going to change it when I put in 27th of the 12th, 2022. It now knows it's a date, and it didn't quite do what I wanted to do. Let's try that again. Sometimes there's like a step that I keep from forgetting. There it is, this one here. Oh, still won't quite go. What is going on there? In custom date and time. Oh, I haven't deleted all the old ones, have I? There we go. Let's start that again. Delete what I had before. Now put in the format I want, which is 5th of August, 1930. And now if I put it in, it should come as 27th of the 12th, 2022. This is embarrassing when things don't quite go the way you think they're going to go. It just worked for us. It literally just worked for us because it's flipped back to this one. So let's get back that out again, back out again, back out again, back to the 5th of August, 1930. And then this time we're going to apply it because I didn't apply it last time. So if I start in the right format to begin with, so if I go 27 December 2022, now it goes in that format. So I just had to type it in the right format to begin with. And as I follow it down, it'll follow in date order, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st. So these are really simple things you should be able to do. It's a little bit much the same in here. If I go 27 December 2022, it's just going to put in, it's say aside that's a date. Now, this is one place where Excel is a little bit more advanced than what Google Sheets is. It just says, oh yeah, I know what you're doing, and makes the assumption. So if I pull that down now, it's immediately going in that right format. I haven't had to set that format this time on Excel because it's already kind of picked up what I'm doing. That's a little bit of a difference between Excel and Google, that it just has some of those things already built into it, and it makes it a little bit easier for you. So now that I've started the spreadsheet where I've got things that I can automatically pull across, then I start to play with things called formulas. And this is where we're going to now start to put together a budget. So in a budget, let's clear all this out. We don't need any of that information. And the same with our Google Sheet. If we're creating a budget basically is, well, let's say, take a look at a budget is essentially just an income minus expenses equals a balance. So it's income minus expenses equals balance. So what you earn minus what you spend, and that's your balance left over, right? So that should be pretty simple to make, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a few columns here. So first one is going to be income. The second one will be expenses. And then we're going to put total over here. So it's going to give us a running total of what's going on as we add more income or expenses in the right-hand column. As we're going down each item of income and expenses, it's going to give us what that is. So what I might do to start with, let's make that highlighted. So if I want to highlight something, I just select the row, go over here to the color, make it black, and I'm going to make the writing white so it stands out a bit. I'm going to now put in what my income is. So it's going to be, let's just pretend I'm a university student, not earning much. So my pay is going to be, say, $400 a week. And my expenses are now $275 a week. Now, what I want this total to show is over here is a number that calculates that. What I might want to do as well is make sure that all these things along here are in dollar format. So to make that all in dollar format, what I'm going to do is highlight the entire spreadsheet, because all I'm talking about here is numbers. And in the highlight of everything, I'm going to say the format of the number is now going to be currency. Look at that, and it immediately puts it into a dollar format. So any sort of things I put down here, let's just say 1 week they earn $425, it'll convert that to currency. Their expenses stay at $275 a week. And we could go on and on. Maybe they're going to earn $600 that week. They're going to spend $380. And then we still don't have a total here. The total we calculate using a formula. So the formula thing is to go equals. So the equals sign on your keyboard, this one. And then I can go, it highlights, okay, what do you want to add up? It's automatically told me that it wants to consider, let's make that a little bit bigger so you can read it. It's already, go back. If I go and do the equals again, so equals, it's already decided that it wants to add up 400 and 275 and minus it. So that wants to plus it. I don't want to plus it. I want to minus it because it's just adding it at the moment. So to make it go minus, I just need to go this field, and it shows up A2, which is the field it's in, minus this field. And I hit the enter key and it calculates it for me. It's also then gone and said, hey, I think I know what you're doing here. Let me fill in the details for the others as well. So it's saying that it's assuming that everything in column C, I want to do the same thing as I did in A and B, but I want to do it with row 3 or row 4. So I'm going to say, yes, let's do that, because it's automatically started filling that in. So it's applied that same formula. What the beauty of this is, if I say, oh, I got that wrong, my income that week was actually $1,255, and I just hit enter, it now recalculates the total. So that my total between my income and expenses, let's not call it total, let's call it balance. So the balance I've got left in my account after getting an income of $1,255 minus $275 of expenses now is $980. So I might want to do that again. So I'm going to take out that and put that into my other book. So we're going to go income. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger and easier for you to read. The income, expenses, and the total. So in my income, let's just say 1 week's $1,200, the next week's $1,225. After that, it's $1,350 or $85. My expenses are going to be $600, $700, $725. Now, I want these all to show as currency, so I'll highlight those all again, and I'm going to make this right-click, number format, and the number format I want is currency. So it automatically says, oh yeah, that's what I want you to do. So therefore, I've now got currency in there. It didn't update these as currency, so I'm going to have to change the whole thing to make sure it's currency, because it didn't want to do the whole thing. There we go, currency again, and we're done. These ones, for some reason, do not want to show up as currency. Isn't that great? Live demo, and when it worked before for you, and now suddenly it won't. So it's showing, look, it's showing it should be as currency, but it's not at the moment. That's because before I set B as being text, didn't I? So let's change that over. It's number format. It's not plain text. I'm going to change it back to that. Go to currency. It should override what I said before, and it hasn't. So let's just change those one by one. Let's do a fresh sheet, hey? Let's do a new one. Copy some stuff over. So my income in my new one. Just copying across everything, income, expenses, and make these a little wider as we did before. And then my balance. Coloring those fields too is the same kind of thing as we did in Google. We just take the background, turn it black, take the writing, turn it white or whatever color we like, bold it up if you need to. 1200, 1500. 1575, the expenses being 600, 625, and 725. And then our balance, we need to all that up. So what we need to do, first of all, let's make the number format into a currency, which is now done. That's looking better. Look at that. Now my balance is going to be exactly the same formula as we used before in Google. What I want to do is take this and then take this away from it. So again, equals. Then I'm going to select this one, put minus, then this one, then enter. And it said I've got $600 left. Now, I've selected this formula. If I'm going to pull down my little box, look at that. It's automatically calculated these correctly to their line. So it's assumed, that's where it's, again, a really advanced little system. It's assumed it knows what I'm doing. It said, oh, well, if you added that, if you took that and then took that away from it, that's what's left. If you wanted to repeat that formula, I'm going to assume that this number applies to this number and this number, rather than just taking these two again and just repeating it all the way down. So that can go down as far as we like. For instance, if I even considered to take that formula even further down, it shows me 0 because I've got nothing here over here. But the minute that I put in something over here, let's just say $1,699, look, it automatically updates it for me. And if I then have an expenses of say $1,500, then it's going to calculate that and update the difference in there. So this is a really good way of just having a real basic budget. If I was going to set up a budget of my own, let's pop back to Google Sheets again. So again, the similar thing, I'm going to set up a new sheet. So file, new, spreadsheet. What I'm going to call this one is my budget. Now I want my budget to be a little bit more interactive. What I want is for this whole one to be all about expenses. And I'm going to then open up another sheet. So see down the bottom here how it says sheet. I want another sheet that's going to be my expenses. And my first one, I'm going to go back and rename that into income. And then on the next sheet, I'm going to create a third one, which is going to be my totals. And I'm going to split all this up into much bigger. So I'm going to change that by double clicking, and I can change the name of it to income. So it's a nice, easy reference for me. Expenses, and double click again, and I've got totals. So down the bottom, I've got 3 separate sheets. What I'm going to do is create a situation where our our budget is going to go across all 3 sheets. And it's going to take a little bit of data from sheet A, a little bit of data from sheet B, and then calculate it all over at sheet C. So let's just say my income, I'm going to make this look a bit prettier so it's a bit easier to read. Let's go into that and that. So I've got income. I'm going to make it a bit bigger too, I think. Let's make it about 14. So what I'm going to do is start to put in descriptions of what my income is. So I might want to say description, and then I'm going to go amount in this next one. So it gives me a chance to go, okay, there's a bit more in there, a bit more information what I'll do. So I want to go dining out. Income is part-time job. And then the next one could be affiliate marketing. Another one could be crypto investment. Next one could be wherever you're making some extra money, babysitting. Let's just say babysitting, you're making a bit of money there. So I can now highlight that field there, make that a little bit lighter again, white, make that one not quite as dark. So I've started to look at something which is giving me some idea of what I'm creating here. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to make this whole row into the format number of currency. There we go. And in my part-time job, say this week, I earned $555. And then in my affiliate market, I earned like 20 cents, which is 0.2. In my crypto investment, I made, well, probably lost the money. So I'm going to go minus $750. I actually lost money on my crypto investments, but it's a good thing that I made a bit of extra money on my babysitting gig. So overall, you know, it hasn't been a wonderful month for me because you can already see I've started to lose some money. Then I'll go into my expenses. Now I'm going to copy this exact same format over to the next one, to expenses, so it looks just as good. Let's go. So I'm going to change that to expenses. I'm going to go rent, power, petrol, car repayment. Oops. Fuel. So what I was going to do, let's say internet, dining out. So we put all those different expenses in place. Now for the rent this week, it was $125 because I'm living in a room with 3 other people because rent's so ridiculously expensive these days. The power was going to cost me, $12 a week. The car repayment is per week rounds down to around about maybe $100 a week. Fuel was going to cost me about $45. I don't have to commute too far. The internet, my share of it is actually $12 a week. And dining out, well, I didn't really do much of it this week. So let's just say I spent $35 in dining out. So I've got my income, I've got my expenses. Now I want my totals. So my totals are going to be where all these things line up. So my totals really only needs to be one line. So I'm just going to create this pretty little format that we had before. So the white text and the black background, make it a little bit bigger, make it up to 14. And I can say over here, total, my balance of my entire budget can then be something a bit more. So balance is again, now we've got an equals. So go equals. Now, what I need to do is I need to go over to my income, which is all of this. Then I go minus, And then I'm going to go to my expenses sheet and select all of this. And then I'm going to go enter. And it's going to take me there. And there you go. My balance after the week is $430. So thankfully, I had a good babysitting gig and I managed to make some money. So let's review that. Up the top here, you can see, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger again so you can read it. It's actually got the income sheet of column B minus the expenses sheet of column B equals that. So let's go and have a look at see how that works out. If I change anything in here, in my income, in my part-time job, I made $1,555. How will that affect my totals? Boom, my balance has now gone up. So it's a very good thing. Now, these expenses, what I might want to do is on my expenses page, knowing that I'm never going to have more than say 20 expenses, I can actually make this column, this field here, be the sum of everything that's in B. So, but to do that is one of the more simple calculations. In fact, it's usually one that's just built in, but for the sake of showing you how it really works, over on the far right here, I can show sum. And it says, what do you want it to be the sum of? Well, I want it to be sum of everything in column B. So if I go that one, it's the sum of everything in B, which is all these guys. So what I might want to do is maybe highlight them all, go down to that point, and then go sum. And then that gives me, that says, that's a circular because I've doubled it, $329 worth of expenses, right? So I can go total expenses, $329. So let's make that maybe a red row so I can see where it actually is. And then I can do the same with my income. Then I want to go at row number 20. I want to know everything that this all adds up to. So all the way down to number 20, there's a 19 there, go my sum there and hit enter. And we go, my total income is $1,145, sorry. Again, let's highlight it, make it look pretty. It's important to make your spreadsheets look a little bit pretty because they become much more interesting for you. There we go. So we've got that now set up. So what we could then do, we don't have to necessarily make our totals over here be the combination of all those, just those rows. What I can do is go equals again, go back to income, pick up that number there, then go plus, go to expenses, pick up this one, equals. And now it seems coming up with this exact same number, but this time, instead of adding up all this and adding up all that's on the other, I've just gone and looked for the totals. I've gone for the totals on each of those pages to produce a total over here. And then I know what my balance is. So it's exactly the same in Microsoft Excel. We don't have to do anything different in Excel, exactly the same formula. Just a simple one of picking it up and going, I want this one. Remember, you always start formula off with equals. So the equals starts the formula off. And we go equals that. And you might want to go, for instance, if you were looking at a GST calculation, that might be your balance, but you want to know what that is plus GST for some reason. So you go, well, it's that one plus 0.1, which then is that plus GST is not quite right. No, sorry, wrong calculation, equals that times 0.1. So this one times 0.1. And that's your GST calculated. So if you wanted to go, okay, that plus GST, which is going to be equals that plus that equals GST. So that's GST, that's plus GST. Oops, sorry, I just did a formula, so plus GST. So that's how you would like that GST thing is just a common accounting thing that you want to calculate a GST of anything. It's just times 0.1. Which adds 10% on top of it. And then that's your total GST amount of that money. So that's something you had to do. Probably doesn't mean. I've been asked in the chat here, what I recommend for memory retention. Is there a good program one could practice a little each day? I think what it is that you put yourself into, you think of what are the things that you would like to create in a spreadsheet, and then you just continue to create spreadsheets that are of use to you. So for myself, an income and expenses and total spreadsheet would be very useful. But then I would go on and try and go, okay, can I go a little bit further? Can I do something else like building a pricing matrix. And this one's going to be a whole lot more interesting because we're taking a lot more things into account and we're using things like margin. So I think, David, to answer your question is to keep using different kinds of spreadsheets. So let's go and create a new spreadsheet, this time in Excel. So I want to try and use between the both of them so you get a kind of view of how they both work. So in this one, I'm going to call my pricing matrix. It's all going to be about how am I going to calculate how much I should sell something for. So let's just start off. We call it our pricing matrix. I'm going to put in here the this is going to be my the cost of production. So the cost of production, let's just say I'm producing scented candles. So my scented candles business, cost of production, let's just give it some color, make it look nice and pretty again, so we can read what's going on much more easily. I might say there's several things that go into my cost of production. The first one is going to be wax. So the wax is, I'm going to have to do units, cost per unit, and then I'm going to do total. There's a reason why I'm doing it in this way, and that will become very obvious very shortly. So I've got my wax, I've got my fragrance, I've got my package, then I've got my, let's just say, ribbon, which is going to wrap around it. Then I might have the cost of my staff to produce that particular, we're talking about just one candle. So how long it takes one person to make one candle, we're going to calculate that over an hour. So how much of an hour it would cost. So if we were to say the wax itself per unit, which is like, let's just say 1 kilo is going to cost us $120. Then the fragrance per, we're just going to go with one kind of fragrance. There might be lots of different kinds of fragrances. It might be more expensive, for instance, to use lemon myrtle than what it will be to use lavender. So we're going to say for 1 unit, which happens to be in this case, let's say 100 mils, is going to be $400. And then the package is going to be, the packaging is per unit is going to be, let's just say $12. The ribbon per unit is going to be 20 cents. The staff cost, so the labor cost of making a candle, so 1 candle, is going to cost us approximately about 10 minutes. So out of that, it's going to be per hour. So it's going to be 1/6 of that. So let's just go 0.66. Sorry, 1/6 is not that. 1/3 is 33%. So it's going to be half of that, which is, let's just say it's going to take them not a full hour. It's going to take them maybe, a quarter of an hour, 15 minutes, 15 minutes to make it. So if I again go, my totals are going to start adding up as the cost per unit times the actual unit numbers. So that's going to be equals this times by this equals there. So I'm going to do now that same formula. I'm going to drag it down to the others, all the way down there. We start to see that it's just repeating what we've got there. 1 unit at $400. So what I can do now is go, I want the wax. I don't need a kilo of wax per candle. What I need is per candle is like 100 grams. So 100, so a bit more than that, maybe about 250 grams. So 250 grams is a quarter of a kilo. So I need 0.25 over what cost me $120, which means the wax for this candle is going to cost me $30. It's a lot. It's very expensive wax. The fragrance, I don't need a full 100 mils of the fragrance. I only need about 1% of that. So I'm going to go 0.1 of the $400. Sorry, 0.01 is going to cost me $4 for the fragrance. The packaging, it's going to cost me $12 per unit for the packaging. So that doesn't change. My ribbon is not going to change because there's only 1 ribbon for each one, but the staff cost at a quarter of an hour. Then if I look at how much that's going to cost me to produce that. So I'm going to say total cost of production equals all of these. Oops, let's go that again, drag it down to there. And then I can go sum. So I can go formulas, auto sum. And it's giving me $46.45 is the cost of making that candle. So let's just say now I want to take that cost reduction and I want to calculate a margin. So a margin of, let's just say, a margin of 40% or 0.40. So I want to charge 40% on top of that cost. Let's see what that is. I go equals that plus, no, it's not right. Let me get out of there. I need to go 46.45. So equals this. Now I might want to put this in brackets because that will help isolate from what I'm trying to do. So, oh, sorry, I keep messing up this function. My apologies. We're getting there. Equals that plus that is not going to be what we want because that's just a little bit more. That's only 0.4. So I want 40%. Let's do that. So that is out. That now equals that plus 40%. Gives me a percentage, which I don't want. Got to remember what this, someone who's a maths head is probably going to be like, you're probably crying right now and say, dude, what are you doing? So it's that plus a formula of that times that, end of formula. Nope, that's not it either. But I think what it is, if that's not a percentage, is meant to be $65.03. So if I take out the percentage, I want to change that particular, oops, close that, go back to here, change that from percentage because I don't want that number to be a percentage. So number format is just going to be a general number. So that's going to be my new price. So at $46.45 plus a 40% margin, that is one hell of an expensive candle. So what I'm wanting to do is trying to work out where I might be able to cover costs, cut costs in producing a candle, which is a lot more affordable. In fact, I want to get that, sorry, this is not doing the right thing. But if I want to get that candle cost down, I need to reduce some expenses somewhere. So those expenses might be, I need to buy a cheaper wax. So my wax is going to be, say, I'm going to get it for half price because I'm buying it from a different supplier. So what it's going to do now, as soon as I make that change, is brought the cost of my candle down. So my margin of 40%. Now I'm going, maybe I'm being a little bit greedy and wanting to get a 40% margin. Maybe what I really need to do is get maybe a 30% margin. So I'm going to change this to 30%. And that brings my cost down just a little bit more to $40. So probably $40.10 roughly. I want to make this a currency. Remember, I just go and choose the number format and change it to currency. And it's going to round it to 2 decimal spaces. There we go. So I've now got my candle at $40. I really want to get it down to a lot more. So what I've done, I bought a machine that does a lot of the candle wax pouring itself, and it just needs a person to sort of, do a lot less. So it's not going to take them 15 minutes anymore. It's going to take them half of that time to pour each candle. So I'm going to go 0.125 because that's half of that. And that's reduced my candle cost down a little bit more. My ribbon, I just bought for 15 cents. Again, that's reduced it down. I've now found packaging that's a lot cheaper than $12 per unit. I've now found packaging I can get for $5 per unit. So now it's $31.56. Now I'm getting down to the range of where I want to be. So I might go, okay, what I'm going to do is put my margin back up a bit to 40%. So I get a nice little profit. Now $33.99 for a large scented candle in a retail shop is probably about par for the course, right? Like scented candles are very expensive things because the things that are putting into it are very expensive. So what I would do is look for ways of saving money. Now, what I would use this whole spreadsheet for is to look for ways where I can save money. I can look at that and go, wow, the fragrance is costing me a fortune. I want to get the fragrance for half that price. So if I wanted to negotiate, get another supplier for the fragrance, which will do it for $250, my candle cost jumps down to $31.89. So again, this is the way that I calculate the prices for all my things. So it might be, in my case, let's just say it's a web design business. So I'd go web hosting. I would go plugins for WordPress. I would go uptime monitoring. I would then go contractor, the cost of the contractor to do that. I don't have staff over there, so I don't need to worry about that one. So let's say my web hosting per person is going to cost $2.50 a month. Or sorry, it's going to cost $45 a year. So there's 45, one lot of that per year. My plugins per year for this particular customer for their WordPress site is going to cost, let's just say there's 3 different plugins they need. And for each one, it's going to cost me about $2.50 a year. So $7.50 there. My uptime monitoring software, I need one of those per website, but each website is going to cost me $5 a year. Then my contractor is going to take 15 hours at $42 an hour. So $630 of that. So in order for me to make a 40% margin on this range of costs, I would have to sell something which cost me $687.50 at $962.50. Now, I'll just let you in a little secret here. We web developers, we don't operate on a 40% margin because we're probably never going to get money from you again, apart from just paying for your web hosting. We'll add an extra margin onto that. So I would say that per year, I'm not going to charge you $45. I'm going to charge you more like, $150. And suddenly what I'm getting back, my margin, what I'm actually charging you is going to be $1,109. Now, as a greedy web designer, I know that I can get way more than 40%. I want 150% margin and see how the price goes up, maybe 250% margin. And you can see why now web designers, even though they're spending 15 hours for someone at $42 in the Philippines, and it's only costing them in reality, $792 to produce the website, but they're charging you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for it. That's why, because they're probably only going to make money out of you once ever. And so they need to make this thing count so they don't have to keep dragging in 50 new customers every month. So it's a different economies of scale for people who are working like that. So you can see how you can add that up and actually get the real cost of what you need to be doing. If I took that down to the average retail, which is about 30%, about $1,030 already based upon how much it costs to build that website. And then that. Now, if I find a contractor who can do it in 10 hours at a lower cost, I'm then upping my margin because the cost is going to get less. So at the contractor at 10 hours, and this one might cost, $18.50 an hour because they're in, somewhere else where it's a bit cheaper. I find that now I can actually produce the website for $347. So what I might want to do is I want to get that margin back up so I can get $1,000 out of it. This is how accountants help us to continue to make the same amount of money or more money based upon cutting our costs and increasing our margin. So we can continue that. So I'm still getting over $1,000 for that website, but I'm only paying $347 for it. So what I'm doing is, if I look at what my savings are or what my margin dollars are, my margin dollars are equals this minus this. So my margin is $695. So it's cost me $347. My margin is $695. So my total cost to the customer is $1,042.50. These are one of those, I know it's simple. It's simple because I've done this before many times, but essentially what you're doing is designing yourself a way to calculate better prices for yourself, because quite often we just take a guess and we just go, no, it cost me a couple of hours. What is my time worth? If I change this from a contractor to me doing it at my hourly rate of $250 an hour, and it took me 10 hours to do it, well, then I took in that, that total being of 10 hours at 250, which is $22.50 to do it, then look how everything changes. Suddenly, I'm having to charge, let's take out the contractor for now. So take out, we don't need any of him. So now it's going to cost me $2,412 to do it. which means to get a 200% margin, I have to charge $7,237. Now I might go, okay, I can probably reduce my margin down to a 100% margin, still 4,825. So my margin, my profit that I'm making off this, 2,412.50. So let's just change that from margin to profit. That makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? Now, I haven't accounted anything for like GST in here. So the total cost of production may attract a GST. If I'm contracting to myself, yeah, that may do. But in this case, we're looking at it going, well, my profit is still pretty handy out of that. I'm only paying out $2,250 to either me doing it, or let's just say to Jack, because Jack is an expensive guy to employ. Then that's how it works. How you then would calculate things such as your employee entitlements and wages and all that kind of thing makes for a much more complicated set of formulas. So for instance, you might want to go, okay, I want to make this so that it's got everything such as variable pricing, so I call it seasonal pricing. And well, then you could do that. Then you could say, well, this total could be the cost per unit. Let's double that over here. So let's duplicate it. Copy, and I'm going to paste it, insert copy cells. So the cost per unit, that could be summer cost, that could be winter cost. And then I could say in the variable times of the year, depending upon what time of the year things are and how much they cost, it might cost me less in winter to get someone for $125. So let's just say contractor. 250 in summer because they don't want to work in summer, 125 in winter. Take out that contractor there, don't need him. And then things like web hosting don't really change, plugins don't change, uptime monitoring doesn't change, but I can then see that the winter cost, I want to take all this and then double it over here. So I want then, like, oh, come on, this is what makes it messy. So if I got, then this is going to be the sum of all these. So this one here, go a bit further, let's find my auto sum. There we go. Then I've got that value. We're going to take that one out, take that one out. And we're going to go that the sum of cost is then the same exact formulas as these, but with slightly different calculate. Oh, gosh, that wasn't what I was looking for. Take you out because it keeps updating with another thing. So whilst that is the sum of all those, E2 to E7, this equals the sum of all these. That's looking better. Now it's calculated the margin. If 100% margin is 250, it's a lot cheaper. So then my costs all involved in here are very different. My profit will be different. My costs are much lower. I just got some weird formulas just linking themselves up here. So this one, the margin would be, say that's 100% there. And then it keep just adding more things in. So for instance, if I just had to really just take the same formulas I calculated over here and bring them over here. So I'm just gonna take all those out, copy them across. Come on, out you come. Out. Thank you. All right, let's add those up again. So this equals these guys. So the cost is very, very different to the cost over here. This formula was that plus that. So it's going to be then very similar. Take it back one. Nope. It's going to be E8 plus E8 to B9. So I'm going to go, this is going to be equals E8. So it's going to be D8 plus that. If that works. Nope. But just find this exact same formula. Drag you over here, buddy. That's why you can get very, very, very technical on these guys. So what Dave was saying before about the memory, you've actually got to have a good memory for these kind of formulas to figure out which ones are going to work, or you just copy formulas across from other sheets. So if this one is going to be E8 plus E8 to B9, so it's going to be that but instead of E's, it's going to be D's. D8 to D8 to D9. That's spilling over. That's one I'll have to work out a little bit later on, but let's just take seasonal factors out of that, because let's face it, none of us are really going to be doing that. We're going to be working with set costs that are coming across. So if this one's then, if I go backwards, I just delete the wrong one, take out the summer cost, delete. There we go, back to the original. So most of you are going to have fixed costs that you may be able to vary around. So if I say I'm only going to use one plugin per site, again, that would affect my final price. So that's how you will then use your pricing. What I might skip together to do is like looking at is planning a social post. Now I will actually show you my own one of these. So I'm just going to go sheets, and there it is, hub and spoke content plan. So this is my own plan for setting out social media posts. So it starts off with my date, and then I've got things like the type of post it's going to be. So I'm going to go down to some of the more recent ones so you can get a really good idea of this. Even see my plan for this week. Now, it's not any super great secret. So this is this week's plan for my social media. So I started with my date down this column here. And then I've got a type. Now I've got two things that I write about, which is personal brand and social media. I've also then got a set of types. So I've got a contrarian type of post, a list post, an analytical post, a post that does before then and now, compares what it was like and what it's like now. And then on weekends, I've got a newsletter, and then my personal posts. What I'll do then is have a source for a hub. So that's where my big content's going to be. So my contrarian post yesterday, which was saying that I do something a little bit different to what other people do with that, I decided to go, I was going to point to a blog article about that. And out of my values, so this is something which I can probably take you through as a way of working out how to do a social media plan, is my values are honesty, effectiveness, approachability, vulnerability, and authenticity. So they're my 5 values. So what I'm doing is saying I have to show at least 2 of my values in every single post I do. So yesterday's was about being honest and effective. And my topic of my blog was why niching down is the worst thing you could do for your content. And then over on LinkedIn and my other social media, I had a social post which pointed to that. And then I would have a comment or something at the bottom which would point to where the blog is. So then we ended up with something that looks like, let's go to my LinkedIn, I'll show you exactly the post I'm talking about, which was in here. Go down. So it was this one, no, this one. Let's see which one it was. So it was a couple of days ago. Sorry, today's Monday, isn't it? So yeah, it was today's one. So let's go back to that previous one. This one. This was today's one. So it was my contrarian post where I was saying, they said I need to niche down a specific target customer. Is that right? And I said, well, no, it's not, because this client doesn't know quite what their business is about. So I was being contrarian about it and linking through to my blog right down here. So you can see where I've decided to do exactly that. So what I've done as part of that is basically lay out a plan that goes like this: file, open, let's just start a new one for you. We're going to call it social media plan. Name it up the top, social media plan. And we're going to put the dates in here. We're going to go the values, the topic, the type of post. Then we're going to go what the mood is, maybe. You might go on mood. And then we're going to go the content and the creative. So what that's all going to mean, and I'll make sense in just a second. Let's make it again look nice and pretty. It's important, make it pretty, otherwise you won't use it. So I want to do my dates. I want to say we're just going to start on the 12th of December, 2022. And then we're going to pull this down and go forward into the future. So you go 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, down to the 25th. Let's go maybe the 31st. There we go. The topic will be either, let's just say in your case, it's going to be healing, confidence, and the other one might be empowerment. So they're the three areas that you like to write about. The type could be, let's just say, in the form of a list, in the form of a story, and in the form of a, let's just say, what's one of the other ones we could do is a poll. Let's just say you're going to put a poll in there. The mood of the healing one is going to be hopeful. The confidence one is going to be powerful. The empowerment one is going to be thoughtful. And those are the sort of moods we want to go through. It gives us a bit of a guide. Now, they'll be based upon whatever your particular standards are, whatever your particular set of your say your values. If you've got certain values you want to express in your business. So we'd take those and go, okay, the content, we'd write out what the content will be, and then maybe what the image will be. The creative in this one might be a video. Next one might be a photo. And the third one might be an infographic. So setting up your social media plan doesn't have to be much more complicated than this. In your content, they should you write what it is. So it's saying it's about healing. 3 ways to enable healing in your life might be the topic that you're going to do for that post. This one for confidence is a story. Once upon a time, I wasn't quite so strong. And then you go on and tell the rest of the story. Empowerment could be a poll, and you can say, how empowered do you feel at the end of 2022? And you make the poll all about that. Now, what I want to do is essentially take these topics and the types and repeat them over and over and over. But the topic is always going to be one of these 3. So I'm going to take this all the way down and I'll repeat that in an even amount. So healing, confidence, empowerment, healing, confidence, empowerment. I want to vary these around though. So whilst the list was on healing this time, I want to take the story and the poll this time for the first one, and then take list as that one. So now it's kind of messed up. I've made it so that it's not quite in order. If I pull that down, that's going to make the rest of the month be varied about the way I need it to be. So if I go list, story, poll, list, story, poll, list, it's going to mix it around a little bit. Now I might want to be more precise. Go list, story, poll. Might want to go then short message. Go from short message and then go back to list, and then I go story, poll. So the key here is to make it so that it's a different amount of, oops, I don't want to do that, do I? So list, story, poll, short message, list, story, poll, short message. Take the rest of these out because I'm now going to replace them with this repeating format, so that when I never really get 2 weeks in a row where the topic and the type match each other 2 weeks in a row. So let's take that out, and that then volves around. So this week it'll be healing, it'll be a list, but next week's healing will be a short message, and the week after that healing will be a poll, before healing goes to a story, and then healing becomes back to a list later in the month on the 24th. So then we're not getting the same thing all the time. I may want to play with my moods and do the same thing with the moods all over again. So I go, just keep going down and down and down until I get to where I want to be. And then I write all the same stuff, and then I might want to vary around what my creative is going to be. So let's just take that down to the bottom as well. So what I've got now is a plan that tells me that the only thing I need to now work out is what to write. I know the topic I'm going to write about on the 15th. I know the type of post I'm going to put in, which is going to be a short message. And I know the mood that I'm going to write it in. I also know that I've got to produce a video that day. So I don't have to work out any of these things at all on the day. All I have to do is go, well, what am I going to write about? A short message about healing. So I'm just going to go, healing is simple. You need to understand that you need it. And so then I've got my material I'm ready to go with. So what happens with a lot of social media posting is people get very caught up in thinking that they have to, come up with new stuff all the time, and they have to do it all at the time. So they get to Monday and go, holy crap, I've got to post all my stuff today. And they get caught up with going, okay, what do I write about? What's the topic? Whereas all you need to do here is refer to your plan. And your plan says that on the 30th, you're going to write about healing. It's going to be a poll, and you're going to have words of hope in there. So all you need to do is then write those words. You don't have to come up with what you're going to do. You just got to come up with the words. That's a lot easier than having to work out all the bits and pieces that go in there. It also means you got the opportunity to space things out a bit more, not write the same stuff over and over again. And the best part is you don't get writer's block or creative block because you've done all of this before. You don't have to concern yourself with doing everything all at the same time. So that's really all we need to really know about spreadsheets. Everything else you do in spreadsheets is pretty much just variations on that. It's either calculating things, repeating data, copying and pasting, or using it to just lay out a plan that you wanted to in place. It's a really, really interesting world, and you'll probably end up using spreadsheets for things that you never really thought you would. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you taking some time out to learn those very, very bare basics about spreadsheets. There's more you can learn through the Digital Solutions Program. In fact, I really invite you to be part of that Digital Solutions Program by going and signing up, if you haven't already, to get the 3 one-hour coaching sessions with people just like me, and you'll get 4 and more hours of workshops and webinars for that $44. Not a bad deal. If you want to find out more about it, it's all at digitalsolutions.businessstation.com.au, or just search Business Station on Google and you'll find where you need to go to. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a fantastic week. And as we get closer to Christmas, a Merry Christmas to you all and a Happy New Year to come. Thank you and goodbye.